Here's another English Essentials video. This time just focusing on the textbook. That's the book called English Essentials, and you're welcome to get a copy if you want, just to email me and I'll send it to you in PDF format. And we've been covering all sorts of writing skills. Now we've been doing grammar skills. And last time we looked at commas, and because commas are so useful and have, you're seeing them all over the place, I thought we could combine it with one new type of punctuation called the semicolon. And luckily, the semicolon is super easy. Here it is, one rule. If you want to separate what's called a compound sentence, if you're not familiar with that term compound sentence, it just means one sentence that is made up of two separate smaller sentences. In other words, each sentence will have a subject, something you want to talk about, and a verb, which means what you want to say about that subject matter. So, you remember you can put two sentences together that way with a comma and a conjunction, like and, but, or, nor, for, so, yet. If you don't want to do that, you can put them together, especially if you think these two ideas belong together and make something more powerful happen if it's one sentence rather than broken into two. Here's my example. The car crashed into the tree. The noise was terrible. Do you notice there are two sentences there, essentially? Can you see the car did what? Where's the action for what the car did? Crashed. And then you get a location using prepositional phrase into the tree. Semicolon means that's it. That's the end of the first thought. Here comes a new subject, a new topic, in other words, and something being said about that new topic. Semicolon. The noise was terrible. Notice the car is not in this sentence. The noise is your subject. And was terrible is what's being said about the noise. So that's what a semicolon does. Separate those two ideas, especially considering those two ideas in this case had something to do with each other. They're pretty closely related. So that's it. One rule for semicolons. A lot easier than all those comma rules, huh? Why don't we take a look then, and the next part here is just some practice with commas and semicolons. So figure it out with me. Let's read them. See if you can see whether you want a comma, and try to think of a reason. Remember, don't do it just because you kind of feel like it or it seems like you need to take a breath. There's got to be a reason, and I gave you 8 of those last time. So commas or possibly semicolons. So here we go. He lives on the far side of town. She lives close to the coast. I'm trying to do it without any kind of pause or hesitation. I don't want to give it away. But do you see that really two things are being said here? We're learning about some male, then we're learning about some female. So we get he lives in one area, she lives in another area. So there appear to be two sentences there. Where do they separate? You got it? I would say after town. Does that make sense? He lives on the far side of town. That could have been a period. She lives close to the coast. That's a new sentence. You can't run these two together. That would be called a fused sentence. So you put the semicolon. That means, think of it again, like a little flag waving. It means, hey, something big is happening right here. And it means the end of a thought and the start of a new thought. Okay, let's go with number 2. He knew he shouldn't always harass his brother, however, it was so much fun. Yeah, maybe you've been in a family like that. You know what that's like. So what's going on there? Is it one idea or is it 2? Good, I hope you think it's 2. He knew he shouldn't always harass his brother. That's one thought. So he knows that's the right thing to do. He's got a conscience. But it was so much fun. There's the new thought. So it's kind of hard for him to quit on that. So would you agree, right after the word brother, we need another semicolon? Does that make sense? Because that's where one thought ended, and here's where the new thought starts in. And notice, however, is used as a transition there, so I already set it off with a comma so you could see that. All right, number 3. She dug through her purse, but she couldn't find her keys. All right, did we have 2 ideas there? I would say so again. See if you can see them. Do you see where those 2 ideas are? How do you know they're 2 ideas? There should be 2 subjects and 2 things being said about those subjects. She dug through her purse. There's one thought. So we're watching her dig. Second thought is she was having no luck. She couldn't find her keys. So I see two thoughts there. It's called a compound sentence. This time it's got but acting as the separator. That's one of those conjunctions. And but, or, nor, for, so, yet. Right, so there you go. You got but there. So what do you need before after pers and before but? Comma. Don't just put the conjunction. That doesn't help you as a reader to figure out where those two sentences are. So we're going to go comma, but. And now that's going to act more as a separator. People will be able to see that you had two thoughts here. All right, here's 4. The teacher explained how to do well on the next test, and she promised a party if the class scored an average of 80. That's a long one, huh? Kind of complicated. Do you see any spot where it appears that one thought is ending and another thought is starting up? The teacher explained how to do well on the next test. So here she's talking to the kids. Here's how you score well. Try to do this. Try not to do that. And then it says she promised a party if the class would get a nice score on this. So I see two thoughts there. The teacher explained and she promised. So there's the conjunction. Do you see it there? Connecting those two ideas? Not but. This time it's and. So what do you need after test? This is a compound sentence. We're going to go comma and. Okay. So let's try the next batch here. So we've got a few more. Let's go down the page. See what we've got here. Okay, how about here? So let's pick up on 5. The cop couldn't decide whether to issue a ticket or not, so he walked slowly back to his car. The cop couldn't decide whether to issue a ticket or not, so he walked slowly back to his car. At this point, I'm hoping you're starting to feel very comfortable with these, and you begin to figure out what's needed here. Okay, what do you think? Semicolon? Comma? Nothing? All right, there's a break right after not. The cop couldn't decide whether to issue a ticket or not, so something's going on in his mind. He's a little bit torn between two ideas here. Something new we learned about him. New subject, he, and what did he do? He walked slowly back to his car. So there are two thoughts. That's a compound sentence. Does it have a joining word? We saw but in number 3. We saw and in number 4. What do we have here in 5? Do you see so? That's one of those boys fan or fanboys, one of those conjunctions. So it's going to go not, comma, so. Number 6. If you stay for the game, be sure to bring a warm jacket because it'll be cold. All right. If you stay for the game, is that what the sentence is about? Is that a sentence? Could you put a period at the word game? I hope you don't think so. That if means there's going to be another part to the sentence, but that's not your main idea. That's one of those words that it's a fancy term. It's called a subordinate conjunction. You've got if, you've got because, you've got while, you've got when, you've got since, you've got although. There are so many of them. That's just going to be an introductory piece of material. Do you remember what we said about comma uses? One use for the comma is if you do not start your sentence with your subject and verb, your main thought, put a comma. Well, let's see. What is this idea? Well, here's what they're really saying. Be sure to bring a jacket. Get ready. It's going to be cold. So we're going to go, if you stay for the game, comma. Because it's good to know, but the key part is be sure to bring a warm jacket. Okay, let's go to 7. When she read the book, she couldn't concentrate on the plot. I want you to notice 7 is doing exactly what 6 is. Can you see it? It's got if in number 6. It's got when in number 7. There's no way you can put a period right here. When she read the book, period. Does that make sense? That's not a sentence. Here comes the sentence. She couldn't concentrate on the plot, so she's having trouble sticking to the plot. So it looks like we have two parts to one sentence, and the first part is not your main idea. The main idea is she couldn't concentrate, so let's go comma at the word book. Hope that makes sense. Number 8. In the middle of the farmhouse attic, Sue discovered an antique sewing machine. It was in beautiful condition. Probably worth some money, huh? All right, what do you think? Take a minute. What does it need in this sentence? Think about commas, think about semicolons. In the middle of the farmhouse attic, you need a comma there. Can you see why? You haven't met your subject yet, have you? The very next word, and that's why that comma is going to act like a little flag waving again, the very next word is your main idea. Who is this all about? Sue. And what'd she do? Discovered an antique sewing machine. And then something happens right after sewing machine. It. What's the it? The sewing machine, yeah. The sewing machine was in beautiful condition. That's a new sentence. It was in beautiful condition. So right after sewing machine, we are now encountering a brand new sentence. How do we indicate that? Not a comma. That'd give you a splice. There's where the semicolon goes. So we have two marks in this sentence. In the middle of the farmhouse attic, comma, Sue discovered an antique sewing machine, semicolon. It was in beautiful condition. Okay, we got about 3 to go here. Number 9. Meanwhile, the dog had gotten into the trash. Yeah, they're good at that. Any marks for this one? Would you put any commas or semicolons? Well, semicolon seems out of the possibility here. They're not two sentences here. But what about that word meanwhile? What kind of word is that? Meanwhile, on the other hand, however, in addition, next, finally, furthermore. Those are transitions. So they always get commas. So we're going to go meanwhile, comma. Because here comes your subject, the dog. Now you're going to see the subject a little easier. Number 10. The youngest member of the Scouts, Joy Smith, was given an award for heroism. The youngest member of the Scouts. Let me move that over a little bit. The youngest member of the Scouts, and so a member of the Scouts is going to be separated from Joy Smith. Why? You can look back if you want at the previous comma video. You have something called an appositive. Joy Smith, he is that youngest member of the Scouts. So your sentence pauses in a sense there. It says, hey, I've been giving you some information. Let me stop and give you more information about what I've been talking about. So it's this, the youngest member of the Scouts. Who is it? Joy Smith. So we're going to go comma after Scouts, comma after Smith. Back to the main idea. What about this youngest member? This person was given an award for heroism. So think about appositives one more time. If I say, that book, comma, a writer's reference, comma, is on my bookshelf. That book, that's a noun. Then I stop and I give you the exact name of the book before I move on the rest of the sentence. Does that make sense? The author, comma, Lee Strobel, comma, wrote several powerful books. So the author, noun, name, so we'll go comma, Lee Strobel, comma, and back to the rest of the sentence. All right, let's do the last one here. The Empire State Building, New York's most famous skyscraper, is over 60 years old. That's exactly like 10. Can you see it? Except where are we going to put the commas this time? The Empire State Building. Now we're going to find out, what about it? We don't have the rest of the sentence yet. Let's put a comma, because we're going to find out what that Empire State Building is. It's New York's most famous skyscraper. That's a noun that describes the first noun. So remember to set off your appositive when you're done with it as well as when you start it, so you can get back to the sentence. So it's going to go, the Empire State Building, comma, New York's most famous skyscraper, comma, is over 60 years old. Well, that's good. That's we spent 2 different sessions dealing with punctuation because people struggle with that so much. So I hope that's helpful to you, and we'll have another video coming up. Thanks for tuning in and watching. Take care.